This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening. This is John Shelfer, Jay, from the Marin Valley Mobile Country Club PAC monthly board meeting. And before we start, just mentioning that the meeting is on Comcast Channel 26 and it's being recorded and it will be available on Zoom. So I am the president. I've been on the board for over 9 years and the president for the last 6. And our vice president is John Hanson. John Hanson, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Jay. Yeah, I'm John Hanson, vice president on the PAC board and also the chair of the Invest Standing Committee. And while we're on me, I'd just like to say that just in case there is a power out or Comcast drops us or some other infrastructure glitch, that we will be announcing the resumption of the meeting within 72 hours. So everybody will know when the meeting can be resumed.
Okay, Steve, you're muted. So we'll go to Carol Joy.
Hi, I'm Carol Joy Harris, Secretary of the Board. And and while we're on me, I would like to announce that we have a new recording secretary by the name of Jean Lee, who is not on the call tonight. She'll be transcribing from the video. And just welcome everybody.
Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Ploker. I have been on the PAC board for almost 5 years. I hold the office of treasurer and chairman of the finance committee.
And Vicki?
Hi, I'm Vicki Waddell. I've lived in the park for about 15 years. I'm a block captain and I joined PAC in June of this past year.
Thank you. So I'd like to call for approval of the final agenda.
So moved.
Make that motion.
Second. Any discussion? Move for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. And now I'd like to open it up for public comment, limited to 3 minutes for any items not on the agenda. Anyone from the public would like to have anything to say? Yes, Irma. Irma Wheatley.
Irma Wheatley, 11 Clubview Drive. I'd like to announce finally that the new 2022-23 directory is at the printers, and hopefully we will be getting it next week. When we do, it will be delivered to each resident. So we'll put it inside your front door screen, right in on the porch inside your screen, so nothing will happen to it, hopefully. So
Yay.
you should be getting it next week.
All right.
Any additional public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Yeah, my hand's up, Jay. My hand's up. It's Ellen Jane.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't see it. Okay, go ahead. Yes, Ellen Jane, go ahead.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, and I don't know if there's any point, but I noticed in the minutes on the 2x2 meetings that I had brought up about the storm sewer guards. And then Jay, you told me you were confused by that. Like, why did I want screens taken off of the, and that was opposite of what I requested. And you said you were going to bring it up at the 2x2 meeting. But then it says here, the city is not involved, and Matt has been involved with cleaning out sewers. And that's like not the point. The point is to cover them. So I'm just saying it again, because I guess I really don't care anymore, because nobody really listens to what I'm asking or saying. So I just wanted to bring that up, that there's not a the response is not what I asked about. You know, that you said you were going to discuss it at the 2x2 meetings, but then personally you told me, Jay, that it was like the opposite of what I asked about. Just saying, there's a lot of confusion. I'm sorry if I spoke confusingly, but I'm saying it to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, so moving on to the consent calendar. We just recently received the February PAC board meeting, and we haven't really had a chance to review it. So I want to table it if everyone's in agreement until the next meeting. So moved.
A motion if we need one.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? So all in favor of moving the approval of the minutes to the next meeting? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to, at this point, move on to reports and ask Matt Greenberg, our manager, if he can report on the maintenance and capital projects currently going on in the park.
Sure. Good evening, PAC Board. My name is Matt Greenberg. I'm the general manager out here at Marin Valley. We've had several recent water main fractures that have both been near meters that we've repaired. They've both been below ground leaks. I'm in the process of getting estimates to replace the spa, which we're gonna give to Chris Blunk to propose to council to see how they feel about it. I wanted to let you know that pump station 1 construction is going out to bid, and the estimated start is this May for construction, removal, and replacement of pump station 1. And although it's not on the agenda, I'd like to let you know that the Novato Fire District, thanks to Lynn Osgood, has gotten us a crew of goats and a hand crew to take care of 100 feet of defensible space surrounding the entire park.
Wow.
I'd like to talk to you guys about it at the next meeting to get some direction on. I was planning on adding money in the budget and creating a bigger fire abatement and tree line item, which we still can do, but with the existing funds that we use every year, I'd like to talk to you guys and get some help with directional help with the removal of possibly the removal of a lot of the big down trees up on the hills, and get some of the bigger work done that we've talked about over the years. I think that this would be an opportunity to get that sort of thing done, but I think we could have a discussion about it, maybe put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Absolutely, Matt. Yeah, there's a lot of dead and down up on the hills that this would be a great opportunity, I think, to take that out. The only possible glitch might be the sequin on deck doesn't really cover beyond 100 feet, so we'd have to look into that. We'd have to feel that out.
Okay. Well, I think it's a good discussion point for the next meeting.
Great.
And I also have looked up the water usage today. Our last meter read date was January 20th. We had an average of 34,000 gallons per day. The length of time that in between reads is 2 months. At this particular time in 2021, our average was 37 to 38,000 gallons per day. So each new read, the last read that we took was a 10,000 gallon per day approximation of less water usage. And we're still in a downward trend. So I think that the education and the discussion with the residents is really making a difference. We're going out still and resetting, as of yesterday, different timers in resident yards and educating them about micro irrigation. So the more that we continue on down this path, the better the conservation effort has seems to become. And that concludes my report for tonight, unless you guys have any questions.
Board members, any questions?
I don't really know. Let's see. I wanted to ask you about, you wanted to meet with us before the next meeting to discuss the, removing the dead and down or adjusting the project parameter for, so how would you suggest we go about doing that?
Well, I think I sent everybody the parameters of the Nevada Fire District's help that they're going to provide us with. And I'm hoping it's a 37-page report. I'm hoping between now and the next meeting, you guys can scan through it. And then with that savings, which is generally a $70,000 savings, I'd like to talk to you guys about what we can do with existing funds that we have not been able to do for a better and a deeper defensible space, whatever it may be. But I think that this is a good opportunity to make a bigger difference with the help of the district.
Great. So yeah, that's so should we put this on the agenda, this discussion for the next meeting? Or should we meet offline at your office, or how would you like to do that?
Maybe the project planning committee could meet with me offline, and then we could put it on the agenda for a discussion so all the members can weigh in and I can hear their points of view.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Sounds perfect. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? The residents have any comments or questions? Anila.
Anila.
People want to know when the swimming pool will open.
We generally open it in late spring, but I think that if we have some of these weeks of warm weather, I'll heat the pool and throw out a robocall and see if we can get some use while it's nice. We have to replace all of the panels on the roof. This last year we've been repairing them for a long time. And last year was the last year that they can make it. We can heat it with the gas heater, but it's very cold and it takes quite a bit to get it up to temperature for a week. So we generally, April or May, or even early June is when we formally open it. But last few days, people have asked me about it, and I don't see any reason why we can't do kind of a one-off and put the word out. You guys can use the pool for a week while it's warm and enjoy it. But I think for the permanent opening, it'll be this, late spring.
Matt, how much would it cost to replace the solar heaters?
It's about $8,000.
And are they reusable when we redo the roof?
Yes. Yeah, the new ones can be removed and replaced using the same ones because they won't be as fragile as the existing ones. There's a lot of leaks in the existing ones right now.
We're going to be talking about the budget later this month. Maybe that would be one of the things that we'd like to include in the budget.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be, it's under the general repair line item, so that we have funds for that.
Well, it makes sense to me that we go ahead and get some bids and go ahead with that. because heating that amount of water with gas, I'm sure in several months will amount to several $1,000s. So we might as well take advantage of the sun.
Yeah, no, I've already got the bids and I have a contract. I'm just waiting for the new fiscal budget. I'm going to get it done immediately.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other comments or questions from the residents? Okay, so let's move on to Steve Closure, the treasurer's report.
Okay, the treasurer's report is that we still have $2,725 in the PAC bank account. We haven't spent any money for at least 3 months. On the budget line, the PAC annual budget of 4,000, we have spent year to date 1,991. So we're way under budget for the PAC. The Finance Committee report, the DSCR calculation, the proper calculation when adjusting for everything that I adjust for, the loan interest expense, capital expenditures, a sewer adjustment, park improvement fund, we come out at 1.74, which once again is because we've spent very heavily in the early part of our fiscal year on brush clearing and fire abatement. I still think that we're going to come out fine as we move toward the end of the year and we moderate all these costs that are a little bit lopsided now.
Okay.
End of report.
Any questions from the board? From residents? Steve, how are we doing with the election?
The election, I have I've contacted all the members of the election committee that we established as a standing committee 2 years ago. So they are standing by. My next step will be to encourage one of them to be the committee chairman or recruit a committee chairman from the park. So that'll be my next step. Then we wait and see what happens. I have heard from 3 board members will be up for election. I've heard from 2 that are going to run for re-election. I haven't heard from you.
I'm still talking to my wife about that one.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I just have one request of Steve. Would you please keep your computer on mute when you're not speaking? Because for some reason your computer is generating a very significant background noise.
Strange. Yeah, I don't hear anything here.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know you won't, but everybody else does. Thanks.
Okay, moving on to the 2x2 meeting with the city. We meet periodically with the city quarterly. And if there are any issues that need to be addressed by the city regarding MVMCC, we can bring it up at these meetings. So if anyone, starting with the board members to the residents, would like to have anything investigated, please let us know. And if it's deemed worthwhile, we'll pursue it in these 2x2 meetings. I don't have anything to add at this point. I'll have something to say at the report regarding the town of Novato, but right now.
That's the same item.
Oh, it's the same item?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I can say is that we've been talking to them about the opportunity to use federal funds to replace the 2 lift stations, both the one that we've already had, they'll reimburse us for that, and also pay for the new one. So that is going to go before the city council sometime this month. We don't have a date yet, but they'll be giving us a report prior to that, the staff report. And if there's anything that the board needs to know or consider, I'll call a special meeting. So I'm on the list of receiving that before they make the presentation. So I'll let you know what's going on. And that's all I have to say.
Jay, what does that, what would that grant amount to?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but isn't this on the agenda under old business? It's the first item.
When we get to what that's related, but not exactly. This is what it relates to.
Oh,
Okay, that's all right.
Sorry,
It's
sorry,
okay.
you're right.
They have enough funds to cover both the existing one that has been done, Pump Station 2, and presumably Pump Station 1, which is coming up for bid. So presumably they will have enough money for any and all costs related to that. And that is what they're going to the city council asking for their approval. So if we achieve that approval, then we will be reimbursed for the full amount, which runs, if I'm pretty certain, Matt, is about $1.4 million for the Pump Station 2. You remember about how much that first one will cost us?
That's pretty close.
Okay, and the second one has different parameters and different needs. So we don't really know what the cost of that will be, but since they're putting it out for bid, we will certainly get a better idea what those costs are. And they do have enough money in this fund provided by the federal government to cover those.
I'd like to say that even though we have already spent $1.5 million, give or take, on Pump Station 2, that this money could be used retroactively to pay for that, and then going forward to pay for the one that still hasn't been done. So it's $3 million, give or take, that we thought we were going to have to spend, 1.5 of which we've already spent.
Correct.
So it's really a good thing if it happens. Really a good thing.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about that from the board or from residents? Okay. Next report is regarding project planning. And we've already mentioned earlier in the meeting that we're going to get together with Matt and talk about dealing with the vegetation up on the hills. And at the same time, items regarding to future budget needs will be coming up. So the Finance Committee, as well as the Project Planning Committee, probably will have to meet with Matt within the next month or so to start those discussions. The city is expecting to meet with Matt and the PAC board later on this spring, either later this month or in April. And when we get the opportunity to look at that budget for the coming year, we'll bring it in front of the PAC board to discuss it. Anything else, John?
Nothing else, Jay. That kind of covers it.
Okay, any questions from the board or from residents? Okay, so I'll ask John Hanson to give us a report on MVES and Firewise.
Well, thanks, Jay. Yeah, there's actually it's been pretty active the last week or so with MVEST and Firewise, actually. So MVEST, we, as I've mentioned, just about every time we meet every Monday, just about every Monday. Every once in a while we miss one. At 5 p.m. on Zoom. If you wish to be included in the meeting, just let me know. I'll get you on the list and get you the Zoom invite. One thing that we cover every time is the COVID situation, and something that I will mention again is that we are a special demographic here in Marin Valley. So the what the county does and what the county recommends is a very broad stroke recommendation. And we should be looking at the more conservative end of that in terms of how we present, how we conduct our social business here in the park. I would myself recommend that we continue to wear masks in the clubhouse and whenever we're in within 6 feet of anybody else indoors. Outside, probably we're fine without masks if we're not going to be hanging out with somebody for a long period of time within 6 feet. So it's, you know, using, I think, common sense, using your own judgment as to how you deal with it. But just remember that, you know, we're only 5% of the population, our demographic of the county. That's why, you know, the county speaks to everybody, not just to our 5%. But out of our 5%, we're the highest percentage of vaccination in our group, but we have 4 times the number of COVID cases than the regular group, and we also have about 9 times the number of deaths per capita for our group. So that's why I'm suggesting we remain very vigilant and remain very concerned, and not join the rush of all the younger people wanting to burn their masks. So moving on from COVID, let's see, I don't know if Kevin doesn't look to be online, but Kevin Mulvaney does a walk around the park once a month and reports anything that's suspicious to the police and also to the neighbors, to Marin Valley's neighbors. And right now everything is fine. Also, when it comes to park security, let's see, we are going to be putting up some more neighborhood watch signs. There's at least one. I think there's one coming in the park. There might be another one someplace. I don't recall exactly, but we're going to be putting up several more. And it's not that we're actually starting a bona fide neighborhood watch program, but what we are going to be doing is help to facilitate the residents among us who like to be out and about in the evening, so that they can be especially vigilant and facilitated for perhaps any foul play that might be going on. Let's see, Fire Safe Marin has their latest episode of Wildfire Watch is episode 5, is now on the Fire Safe Marin YouTube channel. And thanks to Irma, that is now on the, you can find that on the marinvalley.net, Marin Valley's channel too. The YouTube would be there as well. So let's see, we're conducting a project actually with Fire Safe Marin here in Marin Valley and a couple of the other parks. And not much happening right now. We did get off to a pretty good start, but that will be picking up soon as we get our data information together, and we'll be doing some surveys in the park to see exactly what we have to work with in the mobile home parks to come up with any specific recommendations that are different from the standard ones for defensible space and home hardening for regular stick-built homes. So stay tuned for that. For Marin Valley Firewise, we put in a grant proposal to assist us with our defensible space, actually for part of our perimeter fuel break work this year. It's only $10,000, but that's probably more than anybody else in the park is going to donate. So if PG&E does get us $10,000 to help with that, thank you very much. we'll appreciate, I think, anything that we might get. That proposal went in. We should hear from that within a week or so. Another thing is that we have begun talks with the Marin Center for Independent Living. And the primary focus of these talks will be to address the needs here in the park of our some of our more challenged individuals with mobility and functional needs. So, for example, we have no idea how many of these people are going to evacuate. How can they evacuate the park if there was an emergency evacuation order? Can they hear it? Can they see it? Can they be aware of the order in the first place? And do they have something set up already to assist them in the process of getting out? So Marin Center for Independent Living, or MCIL, will help us in that process, and some other things too, like computers and computer training, battery backups for for power outs, and a few other odds and ends too. So looking forward to that relationship. Otherwise, MVest is involved with right now. Our major project really is evacuation planning, and the first episode really came out in the excuse me, in the March Echo, and that involves putting together a go bag, or for people that already have a go bag, reviewing your go bag so that it's up to date and complete with everything that needs to be there. The next episode will be in the April Echo. Will have to do with alerts, warnings, and orders, and also red flag days, and how all of these things come together, combine. How, what is an order, what is an alert, what is a warning, and what do we do on red flag days that brings those together. So looking forward to having that in the April Echo. Then it all comes together in May. We'll do the final episode in the Echo will be having to do with what all of the things you need to do between grabbing your go bag when you get an evacuation order. You grab your go bag. Well, what else do you need to do before you get in your car? So we'll cover all of those things. Then we'll do a live exercise then toward the end of May. Let's see. That pretty much covers everything that we're doing in MVest right now. Did I miss anything, John or Carol Joy? Okay. Good enough.
Thank you, John. Any questions from the board or from residents? Anila?
Anila.
2 questions. Would it make any sense to put a sign on the clubhouse door that said, "The PAC committee recommends that you stay masked indoors," only worded more beautifully? I don't know if it's even legally possible.
That would be up to Matt, because it really is up to the city. No,
but I understand that legally it's up to the city, but if the PAC, the PAC is a voice for the residents.
I don't see a problem with putting up our recommendation and making sure that people understand that it's our recommendation, and not CDC or the county.
And the second question is, what's happening with exiting through St. Vincent's? Is anybody talking about doing it? I thought there was going to be a road happening on top of the pipeline. Do you know anything?
Excuse me for 1 second, Anila. Nancy Bingham, would you kindly mute your thank you, and then I'll call you after Anila.
I'm muted. Am I breathing that hard?
You are.
It's older computers. I have a problem with in Zoom.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Anila. Go ahead.
I got the question there, and actually, there's a number of items that, a number of issues with that. Number one is for any evacuation route, it's imperative that the responders know that people are using that route. So that's why there are official designated evacuation routes. So if somebody were to use that route, nobody would know that they're there. And they're putting themselves in harm's way in the process. The
I
other
thought it
thing
was going to
is,
be designated as an official route.
that's the next part of the answer, is that to do that, that involves the Novato Fire District, the City of Novato, the County of Marin, public owners, and the City of San Rafael. And plus there's probably the Marinwood Fire District would be involved there as well. So there's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross in order to do that, as well as making it passable for cars. So for the time being, that's not going to happen. We're not pursuing that right now. What we are pursuing is, number one, keeping our main access, Marin Valley Drive, clear, our secondary access off of Meadowview clear and usable, and then also having an emergency park and play, if you will, at the bottom of the hill out in the meadow. And those are approved at this point by the fire district. So that's what we're going to be working with.
John, I'll just jump in here for 1 second.
Sure.
Is there any protocol for, in the event of an emergency, people using roads that aren't officially designated, but are avenues of escape, so to speak? Do we have to, or do people like that have to worry about being sued or being yelled at? Or is there a provision in the law that states that in an emergency, people can evacuate helter-skelter, whatever they feel to be necessary to protect their life?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Jay. And the exact answer, I'm not totally sure, but I am reasonably confident that yes, you can use a private road if if you run into trouble with a person in the process. Like if we were to go out through the St. Vincent and we were stopped by a gunpoint with by a neighbor, that they would be liable, not us. But like I said, that's still not a designated egress point. So so it's better that we just stay with where we are. If one of us has a problem with with getting out, there's going to be more than one, and the agencies will be notified and be aware of that and make arrangements. Evacuation has come a long, long ways in the last few years, especially the last 2 years. There's been a ton of money that MWPA has put into evacuation planning and preparedness. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, John.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions? Nancy Bingham, you had your hand up. I don't see you. Are you? Can you unmute yourself and come back on? Okay, perhaps we've answered her question. Any other comments to John Hanson? So I'd like to then call on John Feld for HOL.
Well, tomorrow is our monthly meeting, and if you would like to get the agenda and the Zoom link, please let me know. I will send it to you within the next few hours.
It's also on the website.
It's also available on the website. What we've got planned this coming month, although it's up for discussion tomorrow, the Breezeway Marketplace is going to happen this weekend, and the time has been changed from 1 till 4 instead of from 2 till 4. And there will be all the wonderful things that were there last time. Additionally, there will be cakes and pies from Cheryl and her friend whose name just escaped me. We have our famous author who's writing a play for us called The Night Jet something. I'm not sure quite what it is, but it's a play that
History.
HOL is sponsoring. Vicky is the author, and she could tell you more about it. But we're sponsoring it, and it will be put on in the foreseeable future. Not sure yet. We haven't got a date, but it's coming. We're talking about having a community fridge. The community fridge is going to be, if we get it together, it will be a fridge that is stocked by NGOs and other people donating food, and hopefully we haven't talked to Matt about the placement, but we're thinking probably on the deck next to the ice machine or in that vicinity somewhere, and it will be available for anybody to come and help themselves to food that's in the fridge, and that is still in discussion and development, along with John Hansen. Bark in the Park is going to happen in the foreseeable future, in the next couple of months, which is our dog fair in the meadow, and was very successful last year, and hopefully will be again this year. We're going to have the folk singer Bill Hartman come back for a concert this year, I think in June or July. And we've got the Circle of Friends who continue to meet, who are talking about end-of-life issues and helping people get through that stage of their lives. And we're considering a new group called People in Pain for people in the park who are living in continuous or frequent pain. And it's just a support group for those people. Right now, they're kind of on their own. That's about it. Irma's got
Well, the
something.
Circle of Friends is going to be meeting this Thursday in the afternoon. It's either 2 or 3 in the fireside room, and they will be showing a video about having that conversation. And anyone who would like to attend and find out what they're doing, it's happening this Thursday. It'll also be on the website.
4 o'clock Thursday.
4 o'clock.
4
Thank you,
o'clock.
Ellen.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you,
That
John.
was easy.
Do we have anyone from Marvell that can give us a word? Yes, Vicky.
I have a report from President Kathleen Dargy regarding Marvell's activities in March. She says that Marvell's annual St. Patrick's Day dinner is scheduled for Saturday, March 12th. And at Pub on Friday, March 18th, we are celebrating the 93rd birthday of our longtime benefactor, Patrick Whitley. That's it. Short and sweet.
Any questions? Thank you, Vicky.
Mhm.
Okay, we have no new business and old business. We have an item to discuss, and that is the possible approval of the City of Novato paying off the remaining bank loan on Marin Valley Mobile Country Club, contingent on receipt of the federal grant to fund the replacement of lift stations 1 and 2. And just to give a little background on that, the lift stations, as Carol Joy was speaking, are going to be roughly $3 million plus. And that money would generally come out of our reserves. And our reserves, we've already paid out approximately 1.4 million for lift station 2, reducing our reserves to less than 5 million. And facing the new lift station that needs to be done very soon, which will probably cost in excess of 1.5 million, we would then possibly benefit from receiving back from this federal grant over $3 million to replenish our treasury. So that would, our treasury, our reserves, that would give us in advance of $6.5 million, so that the existing bank loan, if you can correct me if I'm off, Steve, it's about $3.8 million. And we are paying roughly $100,000 a month or $100,000 a year in interest on that debt. So paying off that is something that we should very well consider. Also taking a long view of how much reserves we really want to have on hand, contingent on the fact that we have to replace our infrastructure, and that we haven't really heard back from PG&E, possibly replacing the gas and electric. So there's a number of issues that we need to address. But first of all would be whether in the next month or two, the city of Novato concurs with using those federal funds to replace our sewage pump stations. So my recommendation at this point is to delay any further discussions on this until after we actually see if those funds are put back into the account, and we can do a little bit more due diligence in terms of what benefits we will derive by paying off that loan, and how much reserves we will actually have looking forward to the needs of the park. So Steve, it's about 3.8, isn't that million that the bank loan exists?
I think it's 3.4.
3.4 million. And we're paying a little bit more than 8,000 a month in interest on that. So there are some obvious advantages if we can reduce that, as long as we remain safe. Any other comments from the board about this? Yes, John.
Yes, I would say that, just as the old business item is written, is the way I see it. And that is, I would approve the city of Novato. I would consider approving the city of Novato paying off the remaining bank loan on Marin Valley contingent upon receipt of the federal grant funds. So if we actually receive the funds, then yes, I think it's a reasonable thing to do to pay off our loan. But I think we need to hear what the city council has to say, because this will come up to them, and then sort of be reported back. I hope it's not, they would do it if we pay off our loan, and we would say we would pay off our loan if we, I hope it's not something like that.
Right.
But I think that we could, if it appears to be something like that, we can get together and resolve it.
Exactly, because again, Chris Blanc, who is going to make this presentation to the city council, is going to let me see initially the staff report asking for the city council's approval, and I will share that with the board if there's anything that needs to be immediately addressed.
Great.
So let's leave this on the agenda. I mean, after we complete the discussion tonight, let's just repeat this on the agenda kind of as is for next month.
I agree with that.
Sure.
Recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Vicki, do you have any comment?
No, I personally don't, but I'm wondering if Steve has something to say on this matter.
I agree that we sort of table it, and because I think the city is going to act pretty soon. So it's not like we're going to have to wait a long time to resolve this. Probably by our next meeting, they will have handled the grant issue. We'll know the answer, and then we can proceed to address this.
So I'm going to move forward to table this until next month.
I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just wanted to say something. The reason why
Sure.
I asked Steve to comment on it, because he had some reservations in our last meeting. And I wonder if he's changed his opinion on that.
Nope.
About paying off our loan, about the city
My
paying off our loan.
my reservations at the last meeting were that it was near the end of a meeting and I felt that was going to be a longer discussion.
Oh.
And I just wanted to not engage it at that time. And it looks like it's still not the right time to engage that discussion. So we are certain that the pump stations are going to be handled with other funds. Then we can address the question of debt payoff. And before that, it's kind of a waste of time to engage it.
Okay, thank you.
So again, I'd just like to reiterate that I think there's unquestionably advantages to paying off the debt and removing that interest payment. The only thing that we have to really consider is discussing this with Matt about will we have sufficient reserves going forward to deal with any emergencies that may pop up within the park. So I think that's. Say it again.
But we're going to table it for now.
Yeah, exactly. So we have that motion to table it. Does anyone second it?
There is one more comment in the chat.
Okay.
This is from Janine Thomas. It says, so if we pay off the loan, do we reopen the park ownership can of worms? That's a question.
No connection.
Not really. That's what I would say too.
Yeah. And Jay, I believe that the motion was seconded and now we're in the discussion phase.
Yes, that's right.
And then we'll vote.
Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, thank you very much. Again, now we need to determine whether the next PAC board meeting will be on Tuesday, April the 5th. Anyone have any conflicts? Hearing none?
No, but wait, but I'm sorry. I am I've been assigned to work as an election worker in June. And so I would I won't be able to make that meeting unless we decided to have it on like the next night, which we did another time when I was a poll worker. We moved it to the next night. The problem with doing that at this point is that it might not work to also move it on channel 26. So I'm just bringing it up now very early so that we can think about it, or I'll just miss that meeting.
Carol Joy, you're talking about you'll be able to make the April meeting, but you may not be able to make the June meeting? Correct. Yeah. Okay. I'm just bringing it up now. Okay. All right, so the termination of the next board meeting will be on April the 5th, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next month, if not before. Thank you very much. Good night, all.
Hey.